Before the next stop, you're going to need some background. 10 years has elapsed since Harry was left on the doorstep of Number 4 Privet Drive. He has endured life as an unwelcome lodger in the Dursleys' house. As we pick up the story today, it's Dudley's birthday. The plan was to leave Harry behind and celebrate without him. But plans change, and the Dursleys have reluctantly had to bring Harry along. He has been strongly warned not to mess up Dudley's special day. So, let's move along now to our next stop. Yes, this is where the birthday celebration is going to be. It's one of the few times Harry has ever been allowed to accompany the Dursleys on any of their more fun outings. In spite of not being a welcome guest, he's pretty excited. The first thing on the agenda, even before entering the zoo, is to get Dudley a dessert. Then, with that out of the way, they made their way toward the reptile house. It was cool and dark in there, and there were little windows all along the walls. Behind the glass, there was an array of crawly, slithery things. Lizards, snakes, and other strange creatures were peering out from behind stones and branches. But Dudley's real target was to see the huge, bone-crushing constrictors and the deadly vipers. It wasn't long before he was standing in front of the largest snake in the exhibit. It was big enough to crush Uncle Vernon's car like it was a soda pop can. But to Dudley's disappointment, it didn't look in the mood. It just laid there, asleep. Dudley moved in close. With his nose against the glass, he stared at the glistening coils. He turned to his father and whined, "Get it to do something." Uncle Vernon rapped on the glass with one knuckle. No response from the snake. "Do it again," Dudley ordered. Uncle Vernon knocked sharply, but the snake just kept on dozing. No amount of banging was going to get it to move. "Stupid snake. This is boring," Dudley sneered. He drifted off, looking for something more lively. Harry moved in closer to the tank. He stood looking closely at the snake. He felt sorry for it. No company, nothing going on but a bunch of stupid people hammering on the glass day in, day out. It was even worse than living under the stairs at the Dursleys. At least he got to move around a bit and get out of the house once in a while. Suddenly the snake shifted. It opened its beady eyes. Very, very slowly it raised its head and started to move toward the glass. It glided in closer until its eyes were on a level with Harry's. Then it winked. Harry was startled. He looked around. Was anyone else seeing this? Nope. Nobody was paying them any attention. So he turned back to the snake. He smiled and he winked back. The snake inclined its head toward Dudley and Uncle Vernon off in the distance. Then it rolled its eyes upward. The look it gave Harry was saying quite clearly, "This happens all the time." Harry peered in at the snake through the glass and said softly, Yeah, I get it." He didn't know whether the snake could hear him or not. "It's got to be really frustrating for you." The snake started nodding emphatically. "So, where are you from?" asked Harry. With its tail, the snake poked at a little sign next to the glass. Harry moved over and read it. "Boa constrictor, Brazil." "Did you like it there?" The snake jabbed its tail again, and Harry read on. "This specimen was bred in captivity." "Oh, I get it. So, you've never seen Brazil?" As the snake responded, a loud yell startled the both of them. "Come over here, quick!" Look! Look at the snake! It was Dudley. Out of the way, you! And he punched Harry in the ribs. It caught Harry by surprise. He landed hard on the concrete floor. What happened next occurred so quickly that nobody really saw it. One moment there was Dudley pressing up against the glass, and then, all at once, everyone was leaping back, screaming in terror. Harry struggled to sit up, gasping. He realized, with a start, that there was no glass in front of the boa constrictor's tank. It had completely disappeared. The gigantic snake began uncoiling itself and started sliding out onto the floor. Everyone began screaming and running for the exits. As the snake slithered swiftly past him, Harry could have sworn he heard a low, hissing voice saying, "Hola, Brasil! I am coming! Adios, amigo!" So, let's take a moment here for your background briefing. Uncle Vernon has gone to great lengths to prevent the Owl Post from delivering anything to Harry. His determination to keep Harry isolated has brought the family to a remote spot along the coast. Despite all these efforts, Hagrid has found them. And now, for the very first time in his life, Harry hears the truth about the wizarding world where he belongs. And from Hagrid, he also learns what really happened to his parents. After telling his tale, Hagrid sat there, gazing warmly at Harry. For a long while, Harry just sat there, reflecting on all this. But Harry came to realize that he didn't feel at all proud or pleased with this revelation. He had an unsettling feeling that this was all part of some terrible mistake. Try as he might, Harry could not conceive of himself as a wizard. All his life he'd been bullied and belittled by the Dursleys. If he was a wizard, why hadn't he caused toadstools to sprout from their heads every time they locked him away under the stairs? If the greatest sorcerer in the world had been unable to best him, why was Dudley still able to bat him around like he did? Hagrid, there's something wrong here. I'm no wizard. You're making a mistake. But Hagrid just shook his head and chuckled a little. So, you don't think you could be a wizard, eh? No, think back. Have strange things ever happened to you when you've been scared like? Upset and angry? Harry sat and looked into the fire. After a moment of thought, it seemed to Harry that whenever his aunt and uncle had been really furious with him, it was when something had made him, Harry, extremely angry or really scared. He remembered being chased by Dudley's gang and then finding himself safe up on top of the roof. Or when he'd had that stupid haircut, and then his hair grew back miraculously. And then, just recently, at the zoo, when that boa constrictor had escaped. Harry glanced back at Hagrid and smiled. He saw Hagrid's huge grin lighting up his face. So, you're saying Harry Potter is not a wizard? That's a good one. Just you wait. You'll get along fine at Hogwarts. But Uncle Vernon wasn't finished yet. Not by a long shot. He moved forward. Now, you listen to me. He's not going to that crackpot school, he sputtered. He'll go to Stonewall High, and that's the end of it. I've seen those letters. and I refuse to buy all that rubbish. Books on magic and wands, and he'll go if he wants to, and the likes of you won't hold him back," said Hagrid with a growl. "Huh, the son of Lily and James Potter, not going to Hogwarts? He'll be at the best school of magic there is. He'll be with people like us for a change, instead of with a bunch of muggles like you. And he'll have a chance to be with the likes of Albus Dumbledore." "I will not pay for some wacko in robes teaching him a load of hocus-pocus," yelled Uncle Vernon. But for Hagrid, this was too much. He snatched up his pink umbrella, spun it around his head. "You will not," he roared, "speak ill of Albus Dumbledore." And he whirled his umbrella through the air toward the Dursleys. A flash of light charged from its tip and lit the room. There was a loud snap, a high-pitched squeak, and suddenly Dudley was spinning around with his hands over his fat bottom, squealing like a pig. When Dudley spun around again, Harry spotted a little piggy tail sticking out of his pajamas. Uncle Vernon roared, grabbed for Aunt Petunia and Dudley, and pulled them into the next room. He shot a menacing look at Hagrid and then banged the door shut behind him. Hagrid cast a rueful look at his still smoking umbrella. "Looks like I lost me temper a bit," he said apologetically. "Didn't mean for it to go off like that. I was aiming more for the old man." He gave Harry a quick sidelong glance. "I'd be obliged if you kept this quiet around the folks at Hogwarts." They left the hut in the morning. There were many things that had to be purchased before Harry left for Hogwarts the following month. Eventually, Hagrid led him to a place called Diagon Alley. It was crammed with an overwhelming variety of shops, stands, galleries, an abundance of tiny alleyways branched off in all directions. After a round of shopping for things like cauldrons and potions, Hagrid told Harry that he had some other errands to run. "I won't be long now, Harry. I just got a few things to do for Professor Dumbledore." He said this with an air of importance. "You'll be fine here for a little while." He left Harry sitting at an outside table of a small tea shop. It was the first chance he had to reflect on what was happening to him. He sat there, alone with his thoughts, trying to absorb all that was happening to him. This was all very confusing, so strange. How would he ever fit in, especially in a bizarre place like this? He wasn't the only one here, though. There were several other solitary figures sitting at the other tables. He noticed an old wizard who rose from his seat and began to depart. He was wearing a straw fedora hat and maroon-colored robes. As he made his exit, he strolled casually by the other tables and unobtrusively touched the edge of each one. He saw that Harry was watching him, smiled, and headed over. When he came closer to Harry's table, he paused. "I have been dying to try out this new Hospitalis charm," he chuckled. "It was developed by Professor Marco Manacucci at Beauxbatons. He tells me it provides a sense of belonging and friendship toward others nearby. Apparently, though, the duration only lasts a few moments, but, well, maybe that's enough." Then he tipped his hat to Harry, winked, and left. Harry had absolutely no idea what the man was talking about. He looked back across at the figures sitting around him. They had shifted. Now they were sitting in small groups, engaged in animated conversation, laughing. They suddenly seemed to have become good friends. And then Harry felt a sudden surge of warmth toward all of them. And this entire place. For the first time in his life, he felt he belonged somewhere. Was this what home felt like? Wait a minute. Could this warm, wonderful feeling just come from that charm thing that the old wizard had babbled on about? Then a smile started spreading across Harry's face. That wizard had not come within reach of his table. He saw Hagrid approaching with a pushcart full of purchases, and his smile broadened. "Well, I'm glad you're having a good time here, Harry," said Hagrid as he approached. "Come on, up you go now. One more stop." After settling the tab, they walked a short distance and turned into a small, dimly lit shop. A bell tinkled. It took a minute or two for their eyes to adjust. "Good afternoon," a quiet voice came from the shadows of the shop. A startled Harry jerked upright. Hagrid must have been startled too, because the cushy chair he'd been sitting in buckled with a crunch. There was a man facing them, silhouetted against the gloomy light of the shop. He had silver hair and very pale eyes that glowed like two moons. "Hello?" said Harry carefully. Yes. I was wondering when I would be seeing you, Harry Potter." There was no doubt in the man's voice as he said Harry's name. "Ah, that's the look in your mother's eyes the first time she was here, buying her first wand. 10 1/4 inches. Willow. Rather swishy. Good for charms." Mr. Ollivander moved toward Harry. His unblinking silvery eyes were just a bit creepy, Harry thought. "But your father, he favored mahogany. 11 inches. Strong yet pliable. A good deal of power. Ideal for transfiguration and perhaps the occasional jinx." "Well now, saying your father favored it is slightly misleading. Actually, it's the wand that chooses the wizard, you know." Mr. Ollivander drew in closer still. Harry could nearly see his reflection in those ice-colored eyes. "Ah, and that's where—" Mr. Ollivander's long, pale finger touched the lightning scar on Harry's forehead. Quietly, he said, "I'm sad to admit that I made the wand that did this. 13 1/2 inches. From a yew tree. Oh, powerful wand. In the hands of the wrong wizard, well, if I could have foreseen all that wand was about to do." He shook his head sadly and then turned his attention toward Hagrid. "Hagrid! Rubius Hagrid! Good to see you again." He walked across the room. "Oak, 16 inches. A bit bendy, if I recall." "Yes, sir. Yes, it was." "A very good wand, that one was. But I suppose it was snapped in two when they expelled you," said Mr. Ollivander, giving Hagrid a stern appraisal. Yes, it was," said Hagrid, as he shot a glance at Harry. "I've still got what's left of it, though," he added, brightly. But you don't use it, said Mr. Ollivander sharply. Oh, no, sir, said Hagrid innocently. Harry noticed the grip on his umbrella tightened as he answered. Said Mr. Ollivander, apparently not completely convinced. Well now, Mr. Potter, let's see what we can do for you. Hold out your wand arm, he said, as he pulled a long, silvery tape measure from his pocket. Harry extended his right hand. Now hold out both arms. Yes, that's right. He measured Harry from head to shoulder, then wrist to finger, then shoulder to floor, knee to armpit, and around the head. As he went about his work, he said, Every Ollivander wand contains a core of some very powerful magical essence. Depending on the balance we are seeking, we may choose to use a phoenix feather in combination with a hippogriff hair or a heartstring from a dragon. And no two Ollivander wands are ever identical, just as no two hippogriffs or dragons are alike. And one other thing you must remember, Mr. Potter. Each wand is paired with its owner, which means that you will not have the same level of success using another wizard's wand. While getting measured between his nose and chin, Harry realized that the tape measure was doing all of this on its own. Mr. Ollivander was on the far side of the room, pulling out boxes and arranging them on shelves. That will be all, he said. Instantly, the tape measure dropped to Harry's feet and rolled itself into the corner. Here we are, Mr. Potter. Let's see how the dragon heartstring and beechwood suit you. 9 inches. Flexible, nice balance. Just swish it around a bit. Harry held the wand and gave it a wave. Mr. Ollivander immediately snatched it away. Harry felt like an idiot. Mahogany, phoenix feather, 11.5 inches. Quite bendy. Try... Harry tried. He'd barely lifted it an inch when it, too, was plucked away without a word. Not right at all, no. Here's another one. Hickory and unicorn hair, 10 inches. Resilient, yet stable, yes. Just see how it feels. Harry tried, and tried again. What was Mr. Ollivander looking for? There was a jumble of rejected wands building up on the chair, but as the pile grew, Mr. Ollivander just seemed to get happier and happier. Quite the connoisseur, Mr. Potter. But never fear, we will succeed. We will succeed, yes. Well now, oh, you don't suppose. Maybe, most irregular, daring even. Holly and phoenix feather. 11 inches, well-tempered, supple. Harry felt it as soon as his fingers closed around the wand. There was a warmth, almost a glow. When he raised the wand, it seemed it wanted to move of its own accord. As he swished it down, tracers of tiny red and gold sparks glittered from the tip. Hagrid hooted and pounded on the table. Mr. Ollivander was laughing and cried out, Oh, yes, yes, well done, Mr. Potter. Bravo, bravo. Well now, yes, and yet how curious, how very curious. He was still muttering as he packaged Harry's wand and began wrapping it up with brown paper and twine. Curious, curious. Sorry, sir, said Harry, but what's curious? Mr. Ollivander's pale eyes fixed on Harry. Mr. Potter, I know and remember each and every wand I've ever made, and I remember its fate. The tail feather that is in your wand came from a phoenix that gave just one other feather. Just one. What is curious is that you were destined for this wand, and that the brother of your wand is the one that left you with that scar." Harry swallowed. "Yes, 13.5 inches, from an ancient yew tree. Isn't it curious how the twists and turns of life occur? Don't forget, the wand chooses the wizard. I think your destiny is clear, Mr. Potter. You are to do great things. Remember, he who must not be named did great things. Terrible things, yes, but great."